Good afternoon to one and all. I welcome you in this fifth day sessions of Faculty Development Program on Breaking Boundaries, Exploring the Intersections of LMS and ELT. This program is jointly organized by Research Culture Society and International Languages Council. Today we have a topic, Evolutionary Research on ELT and LMS. Research can be done in the LMS softwares. So you will learn something new today.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all for this FDP program on breaking boundaries, exploring the intersection of LMS and ELT. Today, day 5, the topic, revolutionary research on ELT within LMS. I am Dr. M. Naglishmi, represent Department of English, Vistas. Why research on ELT is important? Improving teaching and learning practices. Right? Charles Dickens once wrote, "Take nothing on its looks. Take everything on evidence. There is no better rule." So while he wasn't specifically referring to the education world, the sentiment can still be applied to educational practices. So, research on ELT, the promoting evidence-based practices. For that reason only, I just quoted Charles Dickens, right? We need for doing some kind of research to get some kind of information to the society. We need to have proper evidence. So ELT, on the other hand, promote evidence-based practices and addressing challenges and barriers. So when we conduct educational research on ELT, English language teaching researchers, we usually address the challenges and barriers. Now, while the learners finding difficulties to learn this language, or what are the barriers they find while learning this language, or we can split up the language, all the 4 skills, in a specific pattern. We can study the challenges while they learn a writing skill, or while practicing speaking skill, right? These are the challenges to be addressed to enhance the teaching learning process. So that is why research on ELT is so important. So advancing knowledge, it also gives new knowledge. It means that new knowledge in teaching methodologies, teaching strategies, right? New techniques. It is always needed because advancing technologies on all other field enhance the education field also to improve their method of teaching, right? So advancing knowledge. For that reason, research on ELT is important. So fostering innovation, enhancing language assessment, supporting policy and decision making. So when we do research on ELT, I am talking about research only on ELT. I'm not talking about the integration of, so far I have discussed why the research on ELT is important. When you integrate ELT with an LMS, right, the innovation platform software, how this platform will enhance, right, will update the teaching learning process. How this platform helps the learners as well as the teachers. How the whole process is enhanced because of this innovative platform, right? For that, we need to analyze how the learners, using this LMS platform, how they are advanced in their learning process. To find out, the difficulties, the barriers, right? We need to do research on ELT within LMS. Enhancing language assessment. When we do that, right? Assessment. We have, in yesterday's session, we spoke about formative assessment and summative assessment, right? When we spoke about assessment, formative assessment, I have discussed, the various tools available to conduct formative assessment in LMS platform, right? So we can do such kind of research, how the particular tool, engage the learner, or how the particular tool is easy even for, the instructor who is very new to this technical field. So that kind of research would helpful, right? To whom it will help, it will be helpful for the people who devise policy and who can make certain structure remodification in curriculum. So also, the research on ELT will address societal issues, right? Like societal issues, something like, how that kind of setup that, particular environment, people, how they react to that LMS, probably from a village, remote village. They may get electricity recently, right? And how do they react, right, to the teaching, online teaching, or accessing these platforms? So this kind of research will help to improve, right, the policies to reach this kind of education to remote villages too. Meeting the needs of diverse learners. So learners, every individual is different. So every individual learner has some specific expectation. So while doing the research on ALT and within LMS platform, we could help the educators to meet the needs of diverse learners. For that reason, research on ALT is important. So it also contributes to professional development, right? The teachers, instructors, institutes, right, offering these kind of platforms to the learners. When they implement certain kind of LMS platform in an institute, they give enough training to the teachers how to use this LMS platform in an effective manner, efficient manner. So using these kind of platforms, probably, because of the advancement of technology, the institutes need to, run the institute in a profitable manner, they have to adopt certain technical advancement. Because of that, the people who work in the institute are forced to learn these kind of technical advancements. Because of that, they also improve. Their professional development also improved because of that. So this kind of thing, then awareness, right, or usage, that ease of use, this kind of study also important, right? Now, they're exploring research methodologies in the synergy of ELT and LMS. Technology integration has significantly impacted the ever-evolving landscape of education, particularly this LMS in pedagogical practices. That this fusion actually revolutionized the teaching learning that within this LMS environment, that ELT within LMS environment. When we delve this topic, that is ELT within LMS synergy, we need to understand the research methodologies that drive innovation and improvement in this field, right? Here I have given this the picture, technology and type flow technical tools. What is type flow technology, right? What is type flow technology? It is a tool to address the needs of people with blindness or visual limitations. Nowadays, the smartphones can be used, even visually challenged people also use smartphones. They can also read mails because of that latest technology. So teachers, the visually challenged teachers also can enable themselves. And the students, how they are respond to the challenges, the daily challenges, the visually challenged people, how they respond to the daily challenges, right? How they access the knowledge, how the information, abundantly available in the technical field, and that opportunity available any average people, how the particular people, the set of people, visually challenged people, how they access these technologies, right? These kind of things will give a huge spectrum to do research. So first, quantitative research. So unraveling the numbers. We all know that one of the most commonly used methodology in ELT LMS research is the quantitative research. And when we say ELT, immediately we will remember quantitative or qualitative research, especially quantitative research. So how do what is the main the word quantitative research related to that? What they usually do, the researchers, they gather data. You can see the picture. They gather data through surveys or tests or statistics. So within this LMS, now we are talking about the ELT within LMS, right? So within this LMS, for example, if they want to measure the effectiveness of a particular teaching module by comparing the test scores of students who used it versus who did not use it, right? So this quantitative data allows the researchers to draw a statistical conclusion about the efficiency of the various ELT strategies within this LMS. So we can say that the impact of gamified lessons on language acquisition, right? So this data within this LMS, they gather data and they get a conclusion, statistical conclusion of this. So to monitor and enhance learning during the instructional process. So the next is qualitative research. This one is uncovering the how and why. So while qualitative research, the other one answers the question what, and this one would answer the questions of how and why, right? So this methodology, employs the techniques, so for example, it could help useful for understanding educators and learners experience, that attitude towards LMS, right? The ease of use towards LMS and motivation. So it can uncover the valuable insights how certain LMS features enhance language learning, or reveal the barriers, how to overcome this, right? So the how and why will be answered during this kind of research. So now we have seen that quantitative and qualitative. Now the mixed methods, bridging the gap. We need both quantitative as well as qualitative. So this approach provides a comprehensive view of the research question, combining statistical data with narratives and personal experiences. So they collect data and they also do kind of interview with people and then personal experiences. So it kind of mixed, all those things mixed, and they do, a research. Action research, empowering educators. Action research promotes continuous improvement and tailoring of ELT methods within an LMS environment. So tailoring, the word itself says that customized, modules for specific learners, right? So it is gaining traction in ELT and LMS research. Educators actually very eager to improve their teaching practices. So in this method, teachers become active researchers. They just want to know which module actually, gives the desired effect on their learners. So they identify the challenges, implement LMS to experiment with different teaching modules and assess their effectiveness. For example, when they do that formative assessment, they can give different patterns of questions, and they can, assess which type of questions engage the learners, which one they prefer, which type of questions give the intended effect, right? From which assessment they can reach the desired outcome, right? Those things, action. This would help to the educators to design, customize teaching, learning process, that they may, find certain set of courses for certain set of people, because the research data will help them to define new courses to the, specific learners. Experimental research, that is controlled exploration. So we know that when we say that ELT, it is not that only the ELT experts know, but everyone, when we say research on ELT, they will ask, is it control group, experimental group research? So it is, everybody knows that experimental research like controlled exploration. Researchers design controlled studies, manipulate variables, and measure outcomes. Right? So the control group will provide the expected result. Right? And then experimental group, with that experiment, they get the desired results. Right? So a study might investigate the impact of specific online language learning game on vocabulary. When they do a study on the impact of a specific language game on vocabulary, by comparing it to a traditional classroom approach versus LMS labs, right? So they can divide the samples into two different groups, and they do the test, and with that they do the data analysis and find the conclusion, right? So this method helps establish casual relationship between the ALT and LMS, because any kind of thing they can take, small thing that they can take in the teaching methodology, in the technique or something like that, and they can do kind of research for a research paper, how this traditional method of giving a quiz on paper pen engage the learners, how this in quiz in LMS platform engage the learners. They can do that, divide the classes into control and experimental group and get the data, analyze the data, and get this solution. Right? So experimental research will help to get valuable insights into what works best, right? Case studies, that is in-depth exploration. So case studies involve the in-depth examination of a single or a few instances of ELT LMS integration. So researchers, they have to immerse themselves in a particular context to deeply understand the dynamics. So for example, a researcher might analyze how a specific school or institution implements LMS tools for ELT and what would be the outcome it achieves. Or, it is a broader perspective. If you want to take in a smaller perspective, you can ask, how when you introduce LMS platform to the classroom, in certain classroom you can take and you can do that, right? How the LMS tools for ELT and the outcome it achieves. So the case studies offer context-rich insights. So making them valuable, understanding the complexities of LMS ELT synergy. So when they do in-depth study, they understand the complexities of, the synergy of LMS and ELT. Longitudinal studies, tracking progress over time. The cross-sectional study and longitudinal study, what would be the difference? Cross-sectional study, they take maybe 3 set of people, they group 1, group 2, group 3. At the same time, they compare the results of these 3 groups. But longitudinal study, only one group, over a period of time, right? They analyze what would happen. Maybe it takes sometimes years to get the result. They study with that group, they study. That is longitudinal study. Compare the same people, compared over time, period of time. In a way, we can say that when we introduce LMS into a classroom, right, for UG classroom to teach soft skills, right? We can take, first the introduction. Maybe we can divide the whole year into three different duration. How they accept the LMS platform, first 4 months, the next 4 months, then the last 4 months. The same set of students, right? That is longitudinal studies, tracking progress over time. So researchers might follow up cohort of language learners using LMS. What is cohort? A type of longitudinal study, an approach that follows research participants over a period of time, sometimes many years, right? Specifically, cohort studies recruit and follow participants who share a common characteristic. So when they take this particular group, they take that, based on particular characteristic, maybe demographic details or, particular occupation, something like that. Then only the study, give the desired result. Validity, the results will be, proven. That is why. Ethnographic research, understanding cultural context. So in ALT, LMS research, ethnography can help uncover how cultural factors influence language learning within an LMS. So the research involves immersing oneself in a particular cultural context to understand individuals' behaviors, interactions, and experience within that culture. You can see from the picture, right? So in that ELT LMS research, ethnography can help uncover how cultural factors influence language learning within an LMS. So cultural norms or values, how they impact the learner engagement or the communication patterns and the use of LMS resources, right? That is essential thing, because when they do introduce LMS in when you search articles in the net regarding LMS and ELT based articles, there are a number of articles available. The studies conducted in Gulf countries. They introduced that LMS a decade ago, right? In Gulf countries. So you can get number of articles. So from that, you would understand how those people, ethnographic research, for us, it's easy. Mostly the people in Gulf countries, the students are, Arab students mostly. So you can understand the difference, how our students receive, using this LMS platform, and how the Arab culture, they received this platform, right? Surveys and questionnaires gathering broad perspective. Surveys and questionnaires can assess attitudes, preferences, and perceptions of ALT, LMS practices. So, for instance, surveys and questionnaires can measure student satisfaction with online language course or gather insight into teacher perception of LMS effectiveness. So it could be, either way. They know how satisfied the students are using, the LMS platform for learning purpose. In a similar way, what is the teacher's perspective toward, right, the LMS platform, using this LMS platform for teaching and learning process. So eye tracking studies. It studies the visual attention, right? To do certain researches on this field, the institute has to have, good setup to conduct these kind of studies. Researchers can use this method to measure visual attention and gaze patterns, helping optimize online content design. That is, they can provide unique insights into learners' interactions with ELT materials that within LMS. They say that how the visual attention and gaze patterns, right? For example, when they study which material, which elements of language learning interface attract the most students' attention, and whether this correlates with improved learning outcomes, right? Fixation, how they navigate and how frequent they visit this particular, tool, multimedia tool, right? How long they read particular lesson or something like that in the LMS platform, in which tool they use. For example, I showed that quiz and interactive videos. Probably when you use that interactive videos, students would prefer that interactive videos rather than reading a PDF text, right? These kind of things, eye tracking studies. They monitor, they track the pupil dilation using, some kind of data analytic tools within this platform. They understand and they do the studies. So mostly these kind of studies can be done with the help of, technical experts. So corpus linguistics, analyzing language usage patterns. This method can identify common errors, vocabulary preferences, and language development trends, aiding in refining ELT materials and strategies, right? So, what is that corpus linguistics, first of all? So, we need to address this. What is corpus linguistics? When you read this corpus linguistic definition, I just want to read the definition given in Wikipedia. A methodology that involves computer-based empirical analysis, both quantitative and qualitative, of language use by employing large electronically available collections of naturally occurring spoken and written text. I have read this definition for many times and try to, identify what it actually says, right? It is really very difficult to, understand what it really says. Then, I studied relative research articles, what I understood. There is a corpus repository, corpora. What actually they do that, for example, if I say that, if you want to analyze a particular word, how that particular word can be used. For example, we can say, take this same, for easier purpose, I can say that the word love, right? They can take that particular word love in our real-time usage. That particular word is used for various purposes. How that word, right, used in various purposes, in various fields, in various occasions, and how that word, used in the last decade, and how it can be used. No, these things can be studied using the corpus linguistic. They have the repositories. Even we can take this LMS. We can do a study now how that word, for example, we can take in a broad perspective, technology. How this particular word technology used. No, initially, they used technology, the word technology uh, connected with industries. And later, right, it is connected with that smartphones, all those things. So how that word technology derived various meanings within, the advancement of various instruments, right? This kind of study, language patterns, will help teaching learning patterns. So comparative studies compare two or more different approaches. This is a very formal ELT method, right? When you search ELT, they made a traditional approach, direct learning method, direct approach, and grammar translation method. Initially, they have that, and then communicative language learning, then communicative approach, situational approach, all those things, comparing two methods and how this method is better than the other method. So these kind of studies. So within LMS, right? Within LMS, they can compare the outcomes of asynchronous online language courses and synchronous virtual classroom sessions. That is, what is the difference asynchronous and synchronous? Asynchronous, the independent learning, that it is not that connected one. If you want to learn in a particular unit, you can learn that particular unit. It is not necessary to learn the second unit. You need to learn the first unit. Simultaneously, you can do that first unit. It is not interblocking, right? Synchronous is interblocking. If you want to learn the second unit, it is a must to learn the first unit. So we can compare these kind of things. How the asynchronous helpful, synchronous helpful, right? You can compare these kind of studies. Designing research studies to assess the effectiveness of LMS in language teaching. So far, there are various ways of research can be done on ELT within LMS we have seen, right? Now, designing research studies to assess the effectiveness of LMS in a language teaching, in English language teaching, ELT. So in the context of language teaching, LMS holds immense potential for improving pedagogical approaches and learner outcomes. So to assess the effectiveness, designed research studies are essential, right? To assess the effectiveness of LMS, we need to have a designed research studies. So first thing first. So whether it is, ELT, research on ELT or research on ELT within LMS, the first thing is we need to define research objectives. The first step in designing study on the effectiveness, right, of LMS in language teaching is to define clear objectives. What specific aspects of language teaching do you want to assess? That is the first. What specific aspects of language teaching do you want to assess, right? Are you interested in measuring the impact on vocabulary acquisition or speaking proficiency or overall language proficiency, fluency? So what is your objective? Defining these objectives, right? The study ensures the study is focused and aligns with the research question. So when you define your research objectives, you can reframe the objectives in research questions and you can find the answers of your research questions to reach the outcome, right? So defining research objectives is almost key. Selecting participants. Choosing the right participant is crucial. So researchers can work with language learners, different proficiency levels, that is broad perspectives, different ages, different levels, that is probably beginners, elementary, pre-intermediate, intermediate, right? All these different levels of language learners, right? And different kind of, self-motivated or they need a motivation kind of people, right? And they have the prior exposure to technology or they are new to the technology and their learning preferences. So while selecting participants, the researcher has to have these kind of things in his or her mind. So a diverse sample can provide a broader perspective on the effectiveness of LMS, right? So various kind of people, when you involve in your research, you will get the broader perspective on the effectiveness of LMS. Randomization and control groups, again, it is like, this one and the other one, pre-test and post-test, right? A similar thing, right? We need to collect a sample, select the sample, and then two different groups, treatment group and control group or experimental group. So pre-test or post-test, right? We need to give that a randomization also, that treatment group and control group. Pre and post testing, they do that. So before the treatment, both the group are the same level, and then the control group has, without giving the special treatment, and the treatment group will be given the treatment, that is the methodology we opted or the LMS platform, any kind of tools we opted, they go through that. Then post-test will be conducted, that results will be analyzed, right? So randomly assigning participants to either an LMS or a traditional classroom group ensure that the observed effects can be attributed to using LMS than other factors. Similar way, to measure the effectiveness of LMS, researcher should conduct pre and post tests to assess language proficiency. So before conducting the experiment, before the treatment, the proficiency level of the samples were same. So these tests, the pre-test and post-test, should be well structured and aligned with the research objectives. So pre-testing establishes a baseline, and then post-test reveals the impact of LMS-based instruction, right? So when we do the pre-test, both the group, the controlled group and experimental group, are the control group or treatment group, both are in the same baseline. So after the treatment, what would be the result? What is the impact of LMS instruction on the treatment group? The next, assessment tools and instruments. Need to select appropriate assessment tools and instruments. So this might involve standardized language proficiency test. So when we do that kind of research, we need to have a standardized, we need to follow any kind of standardized book to test the proficiency level of the samples. Speaking assessments, that portfolio, we can say recently people are studying that portfolio assessment. What is that portfolio assessment? That is a collection of student work that demonstrate progress and growth. What we have studied in that a longitudinal research, similar kind of thing, that they need to collect the learner's portfolio, right? That is one thing. It enhances the research portfolio, right? So this one. So when they do that assessment tools, they need to conduct self-assessment surveys in language teaching, right? So these tools are valid and reliable. We need to do that validity and reliability test before conducting any kind of assessment, and consider supplementing them with qualitative data through, we can take qualitative data through interviews or focus groups. So that is very, very important. Then here again, that is longitudinal studies. So within this, as I have already mentioned, that how that LMS platform, impact the learners, right? You can follow the participants over an extended period, assessing their language proficiency at multiple points, and we can then the data can reveal the benefits of LMS persist over time, right, or diminish, right? So that is important. Longitudinal studies actually give various improvements in LMS software actually. So the next is user experience and satisfaction. That is to understand the perceptions of the LMS interface, or that ease of use. Though I have talked about, there are plenty of LMS software, free LMS software available, though they restrict some usages for the paid versions, right? Even that free usage, that free platform, there are multiple tools available in that platform. But understand that it is not easy for us to understand this available free the perception of the LMS interface, ease of use, and overall satisfaction with the learning experience. Surveys, interviews, or usability testing. These things, can give valuable insights to use LMS platform. This kind of research can enhance the teaching learning process within LMS platform. So user experience and satisfaction. Then usage analytics. Usage analytics within the LMS to gain insights into learner behavior. So analyze data on login, time spent on different modules, completion rates, and the frequency of interaction with various LMS features. So yesterday I showed, the quiz. Now after submitting the quiz, it has given the data, the time when the learner login. So what is that time of login and the completion time and how long the learner has spent to complete the particular task, right? So these things, these analytics, it is actually, automated. Using these analytics, right, we can do a research to say that certain tools engage the learners in an effective manner and certain tools need kind of restructuring, remodeling, right? So this analytics research helps to restructure the software. The incorporate qualitative to conduct interviews or focus groups with participants to rich this kind of data provide interesting perspective on how learners engage with the platform, right? Then ethical consideration. This is important, paramount. How the data, the learner's data protected, the privacy, compliance with relevant regulation. These are very important, right? That is ethical consideration. They can do that kind of research, ethical consideration. Because when we collect data for ELT, even field survey, when we give questionnaire and collect data, we assure that the collected data will be used only for this study. We don't use this particular data for any other purpose, right? That kind of thing should be done in when we do the process in LMS platform. So that kind of studies can be done. How this ethical consideration will enhance the teaching learning process. So learning, analytics, and data integration. This can track, include tracking, right? Which part of the course materials are most engaging and which are least engaging to the learners, right? So perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, retention, right? So identifying common stumbling points. Maybe when you use particular tool, almost in your class, over 30 to 40 students, right? In your class, if 40 students, almost 30 students are stumbling to use that particular thing. Or particular tool can be used by all the students and particular tool used by only very few students. That which course materials are most engaging, like interactive videos are most engaging thing, and when you put that the PDF books are the least engaging thing, like that, So learning analytics and data integration. This can be, to understand the nuances in LMS effectiveness, right? The nuances of LMS effectiveness, how this can be enhanced, or this particular tool can be enhanced to get attention of the learners. Then, blended learning approaches. This is what we can do. When I started this FDP, I told that for conducting through one full program on LMS platform, we, the language instructors, teachers, alone cannot do. We need technical support. We can use this free platform to blend our traditional approaches, that is blended teaching methods. So we can create our own platform and we can use these tools. Using these tools, in our traditional classroom, we blend these, latest technology. So how this blended teaching helpful in language learning? This kind of research would be meaningful in today's scenario, especially, scenario like Tamil Nadu. We don't have full-fledged institutes conducting full-fledged online program, right? So for that, the blended learning approaches would be meaningful and easy. And technology acceptance and adaptation, that is the model, TAM model, right? Assess the acceptance and adaptation of LMS technology among teachers and learners. So it is, usually every time when the technology, when they introduce a new technology, it would not easy for us to, adapt or adopt that technology. Even people, for example, initially when they come to institute, school or college, they need to sign in the register, and then later it is changed into biometric. And most of the people, did not like that biometrics. They don't want to, they restrict to change, right? And then now, it is retina verification, right? So people, when technology advances, there are certain people adamant, resist themselves to accept that technology. To assess the acceptance and adaptation of LMS technology among teachers as well as the students. So investigate the factors that facilitate or hinder the integration of LMS into language teaching. What would be the factors? So this can provide insight into training needs, user support, and strategies for fostering technology adoption. Socio-economic and cultural factors. So the influence of socio-economic and cultural factors on LMS effectiveness. Learners from different cultural backgrounds, how do they respond differently to online language learning? All the learners take the LMS platform in the same way, or different cultural background people respond differently, right? When we introduced that, initially I said that when we introduced that LMS platform and technically advanced cities and, the technically downtrodden villages, it is different thing, right? We need to understand the socio-economic cultural factors, right? To assess, right, whether there are disparities in access to technology and how this impacts language learning process. then accessibility and inclusivity. So, how the disabled students also included to access the latest technology that can be studied, right? And pedagogical approaches within the LMS platform, the new technology or the older technology methods, right? Approaches, how we can integrate these things, how these can be uh, implied in this LMS platform that can be studied. Technology integration challenges, right? When we want to integrate LMS into language teaching, like, like as we don't have sound technical knowledge, the technical issues, and certain people, literature, they say that literature and literature can be studied, using these kind of technology would not give that, that imagination. They talk because of resistant to change the latest technology methods, right? Are difficulties adapting, maybe finding a difficulty to adapt, uh, no, still there are teachers, they don't want to use the smartphones, right? They are restrict themselves, resist themselves to use the latest device. They want the traditional curriculum, the traditional curriculum material, right? So even the traditional style can be implied in LMS platform, right? Even they can use, they want to read, they can read, the PDF books using that platform, right? So identifying these challenges inform the people to smoother the integration of LMS within language teaching. And then feedback and iteration. That is the taken feedback every time the language learner or the language teacher uses certain kind of tool in LMS platform, can review the particular tool or can say the feedback when they use that particular tool, that could be collected, right? And that could be used for research, and that research would help to refinement and enhancement of LMS, the effectiveness over time. So multi-language LMS, multilingual LMS platforms. So, you could have seen advertisements. Now people go from one place to another place. They don't know the language of that particular place. Using that app, they communicate with the local people, right? So the multilingual LMS platforms will help teaching learning process in a smoother way. How this multilingual LMS platform help learners? This can be studied, and this could enhance the effectiveness over time. How effectively they facilitate language acquisition in various linguistic contexts can be studied. How these systems support teaching learning in multiple languages, making them valuable for diverse language education settings can be studied, right? And then cross-cultural comparative studies. We can conduct cross-cultural comparative studies to understand how LMS effectiveness, varies across cultural and linguistic settings. So investigate whether certain LMS features or strategies are more or less effective in specific cultural context. So we can say that when we conduct cross-cultural studies, this LMS can be received the same from this particular set of people. Also receive the same the other people. The both groups are culturally different, but this LMS platform, they received the same, right? So these kind of studies will help to improve the platform, to enhance the teaching learning process. So, in conclusion, by carefully addressing these points, researchers can contribute to the evolving field of technology enhanced language education and help educators make informed decisions about integrating LMS into language teaching practices. So, designing research studies to assess the effectiveness of LMS in language teaching requires a holistic approach. So, researchers should consider various factors from technology acceptance and cultural influences to pedagogical approaches, right? So they have to consider all these factors in mind. While conducting research, they need to keep these things and contribute to the evolving field, the technology enhanced language education. So this could help educators to make decisions about integrating LMS into language teaching practices. So I could say that there are various points I have mentioned that we can write research articles based on that. That here I have written 2 research articles. One I presented in an international conference held in Dubai in the month of January. Offline presentation. I went to Dubai and presented this paper. The other one, LMS government aided colleges, similar kind of thing. That this one LMS vistas, right? This one government aided colleges. This one I presented in the month of February, an e-total conference conducted on Tamil Nadu thing, and this paper, shortlisted for best research paper and published in UGC Care Journal. Let me show the paper. I think I need to share the screen. 1 minute. Hope that effective teaching and learning of language within LMS. Any questions? Yes, any questions? Hello, sir. Any questions?
Thank you for the section, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
At first, I am very thankful for your informative and useful session.
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
have a question, ma'am. My name is Shobha Jadhav, speaking
Okay.
from Nashik, KTHM College, Maharashtra.
Okay.
Ma'am, at first I want to request you kindly please tell me about the research paper, which points are very important for the article. Suppose the scope and limitation, aims and objectives, is it important for research paper or not? What should
Yeah,
be
very
added?
important. First thing is research objectives. Your research objectives are very important. Then research questions. Then the methodology you opt.
Yes.
Then whether you are collecting the data, the methodology. Based on the methodology, you have to do the data analysis,
Yes.
and then your findings, and then you have to say the scope, limitations, and scope of further research.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Here I want to share you, ma'am, that I
Yes.
have making my research paper on the
Okay.
literature. The main
Okay.
theme of literature in the selected poems of Jayanta Mahapatra and R.
Okay.
Parthasarthi.
Okay.
So I have completed this research paper with abstract and the main material. But which
So,
point?
ma'am, one thing. The ELT research article is completely different from literature article.
Okay, okay, yes.
Okay. When you are writing a literature article,
Yeah.
there is no, if you are using kind of language theories
Okay.
in ELT, that is different. Methodology, that is different. Approaches, that is different. When you are writing literature paper, when you use any particular theory, right, you have to, match with the components of those theory. For example, if you are using that feminist standpoint theory,
Okay.
right, you have to, find out what is feminist standpoint theory, what is that definition of feminist standpoint theory, and
Yes.
The chosen work, how you connect the components of feminist standpoint theory with the characters of your chosen work.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is completely different. But here in ELT, you have to frame research. Even in literature paper, you can frame research objectives
Yes. Yes.
to match, to find answers to the research objectives. Here, you are finding answers based on the data collected.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hope my answer is.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I have got it. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. session is highly helpful for everyone, very clarity and useful for us. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Any questions?
To participants, if you have any questions, queries related to research format, research article template, or research papers points, you can visit our website. On your screen, ijrcs.org. It's an international UGC approved journal. You can click on author guidelines. So you will have these instructions, the templates of article, examples of sample or example research papers, research articles, review papers. Plagiarism free software is also available. And just one participant has inquired related to some topics or subheadings. So that's are also available on this website. So first should be a title of paper or article, author name, including email, if any designations, affiliations. Next is abstracts and keywords. Next, introduction. Then literature review part. If any objectives or aims, then methods and materials. Next is analysis and discussion. Findings, recommendations, if any limitations, conclusion or summary. So these are the standard subheadings to prepare a research paper or research article. So more details in the paragraph wise we have given on this website. So I hope all the participants have no questions further.
I think no questions.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Participants will receive soft copy certificate on the last day's sessions, 16th September till late tomorrow.
Yeah.
After completing the sessions within 24 hours, all the registered participants will receive soft copy certificate on your registered mail ID. We are grateful for your active participations in our academic research and development programs. Thank you one and all. Tomorrow we will share a feedback form link in the chat box and through email also. Have a great day ahead. Take care.
Thank you, sir.